Money, 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 money. It's time for Money Matters.
Money.
Right now, we're going to be looking at can we have a debt-free life? Is it even possible for most of us? Can we have that freedom and peace of mind? It feels so out of reach for many of us. When you look at today, maybe it is payday. It's the end of the month, and you're like, I just came in. It's all gone, all because of debt. I know that many of us are thinking about our credit card balances, our loans. They could be weighing down, but can you become a debt-free individual? Experts say that the right approach and the right commitment can give you control of your finances and ultimately lead you to eliminate debt for good. With a clear strategy and the right mindset, one can reduce their financial stress and move into a debt-free life. How do you do that? Let's find out if our guest can help us on that. That's Daddy Shabalala, who's an independent financial planner at Nexus Independent Financial Professional, which is an authorized financial service provider. Daddy, welcome on the show.
Good morning. How do you do, sir?
We are doing
Very
very well. Eliminating debt, is it even possible?
Of course, it's possible. But first, let's just rewind back to understand why people get into debt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you find that people are struggling to cover their basic needs, right? And then they go and borrow money. So from that starting point, where we already see that can spiral out of control.
Yeah. Carry on.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so once that spirals out of control and now you are living from borrowing every single month to make your ends meet, that's when you start living in serious debt situation, which I normally refer to as a financial crisis, because now you cannot live without debt. So every single month you have to borrow money just so that you can live until the end of the month, which is not the ideal situation.
Yeah, but people are surviving like that. It seems like in very strenuous economies, that's the only way to live, and people don't have much alternatives.
Correct. You are saying, using the right words as well, that they're surviving. And the purpose of life is not to survive. We want to thrive, correct? Do you want to survive or do you want to thrive?
We want to do both at this rate.
We want to thrive, but it feels like we have to survive.
Exactly. But now let's understand why we got into debt, first and foremost, right? We got into debt because we were living beyond our means, which is normally the starting point of getting into a financial crisis. So we cannot just allow ourselves to carry on living in debt perpetually without understanding why we got into debt. So in order for us to start thriving, we need to pay off that debt so that we do not live on the debt, but we can be on the other side of that debt, where we have investments where people are borrowing money from us and we earning the interest instead of paying the interest. Isn't that a nicer position to be in?
Yeah, but the thing, it's all about the needs, right? Because right now, when you look at the statistics, people are even struggling just to meet their basic needs. So it feels like most people are in that dire situation and not even, living a luxurious life. It feels like more people are just struggling just to put bread on the table. So how do you get debt free when you have that stress?
Okay, so how I would use, I would start with lowering your living expenses, right? So I'm not just talking in theory. This is something that I have also personally done. We live in a society where we want to keep up with the Kumalos and the Smiths, correct? So when COVID hit, I moved out of my beautiful house and I moved into a rented house in Soweto, where I was paying half of what I was supposed to pay for my bond. Do you understand? Those are some of the tough decisions that one has to make.
Yeah, let's use that as an example. And then what did you do with your house? Did you rent it out?
I rented it out. Rented it out so that they could pay my bond while I was paying half the bond, where half the rent where I was living. So I was living beyond. I was living lower than what I was supposed to.
Sure.
You see?
Okay.
So again, that's just one of the strategies that we use as well. And the most important thing as well is to stop accumulating more debt, right? It sounds very easy when you say it,
Hmm.
but it's actually a mindset thing that we have to deal with. When you borrow money to live and to cover your basic needs, you have missed the point of why we are actually working. Do you understand? So if it's costing you more than 1 rand, let's make an example. If your lifestyle, if you are earning 1 rand and your lifestyle is costing you 1 rand 50, there's a big discrepancy there. We need to lower your expenses to meet your income. Are you with me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So those are the two strategies that I would say. Well, let's start off there to say stop using debt. Okay. Don't make any more debt.
Hmm.
And then the second point is to lower your living expenses and your lifestyle.
Okay, we need
It's
to
very,
figure
very,
out
very difficult
we need to
to
figure
do
out
that.
how you actually do that because like you said it sounds very very difficult. Let's speak even about someone maybe who's not like over indebted, but just generally most of us who have a normal living. Let's say if you look at some of South Africa's middle or upper middle class, they always say you're one paycheck away from not being in that middle class anymore. So for someone who maybe pays off their car, that is a debt, pays off a home loan, that is a debt, and like many of those everyday things that we have or every month things that we have to pay for, maybe they're your subscriptions and all medical aid and other things like that, those are still debts, but you might not be over indebted, but you want to really reach a place where perhaps you might have luckily paid off your house or paid off your car. That gives you a little bit more disposable income. Getting there though isn't so easy.
Correct, correct. And what you find, as you're saying, with the two examples that you're using, as soon as you start getting an increase at work, people want to increase their lifestyle, right? And no one wants to drive around in an 8 year or 10-year-old car, correct? So
Hmm.
that's those are the lifestyle creeps that we don't want to impact you. So when we say you are living in a house, are you going to live in that house for the next 20 years so that you can afford to pay the bond? And then when you get an increase or you get a promotion at work, do you feel the need to change your area code now and live closer to work and in those fancy estates and stuff like that? Those are the lifestyle creeps that make people live into debt. So if you had lived in the original house that you started working in, paying off that bond would not be a problem. But what do people do? They upgrade their lifestyle. They move into the nicer neighborhoods. What do they do when they get a promotion? They want to show everyone that I've received a promotion. And what do? They go and buy that fancy German sedan and put a balloon payment on it, just so that everyone
Hmm.
can see the lifestyle that they're living. But
Hmm.
if we were prudent with our expenses, and after you've gotten that promotion or that increase at work, you don't upgrade your lifestyle. That's how you'll be able to pay off the debt.
Hmm.
So with that new increase in your budget of saying 10% salary increase, and then you put that extra 10% towards settling your bond quicker, or paying that credit card quicker, or investing in investments that will earn you more interest. That's how you build a life of prosperity, and you start thriving instead of surviving. When we started this conversation.
All right, Daddy, stay there on the line. That's Daddy Shabalala, who's an independent financial advisor. We're going to take a break and see if he can help us. Is it possible to live a debt-free life? That's what we're talking about today. Stay with us.
It is our Money Matters feature, and today we're speaking about living a debt-free life. Is it possible? But to get there, we need those tips. We are getting those tips today with Daddy Shabalala, independent financial planner at the Nexus Independent Financial Professional. And he's talking to us today about the steps that we can take to try and live a debt-free life. Now, let's take a look at those steps, Daddy. Let's look at, what to do. Many people who say they are consistent say, well, I'm okay, I pay the bills every month, my salary comes in and all my bills, they take what they need to take, and that's just how I do it. But is there a better strategy that you can use if you want to live debt free, maybe in the nearer future?
Yes, there are two strategies that we can use. The first strategy is called the snowball method. That's when you pay the smallest debt first. So if you have 5 debts and the smallest one is 100 rand, you try and pay that debt off first, and then you take that 100 rand once that debt is paid off, and you pay the second smallest debt. So you will adding another 100 rand to that debt, meaning that it will pay that debt off first, and that's hence the reason the snowball effect. It starts off small, but then you keep on growing it, and then it pays. You pay off the debt quicker.
So when you're paying the smallest debt off, does that mean that you are overlooking the bigger debts? Are you just not paying those in the meantime?
No. You keep paying all of them.
Okay.
But you make an extra effort wherever you get that extra income and stuff.
Okay.
That's when you throw that money at the smallest debt.
Okay, I'm glad that you're starting there, because the first step is to try and get extra income that you can use to start paying off your smallest debt.
Correct. And also with the mindset with this one is that when you start seeing that quick win where you have a debt settled, it also motivates you and changes your mindset, and you start seeing a light at the end of the tunnel instead of just saying, "Ooh, I've got so much debt that I cannot handle it anymore." So it's very good from that perspective. Mm-hmm. You get a quick win, and it's a quick milestone that you can set for yourself, and you can see the difference of that extra 100 rand coming back into your pocket when you don't have that debt repayment anymore.
Mm-hmm. And also there's kind of things like assets. Sometimes assets can become liabilities. I feel like assets are liabilities. Just how I've lived, I've just seen. No, for real, I've seen. You gave us. I'm coming back. No. Be patient. Let me give you a question, Daddy. You were speaking about a house, right? You bought a house, and there was a point where your asset, which was your house, became your liability because you'd run out of work. And most of the people, that's the kind of question I'm trying to ask you, they go into that scenario whereby they don't know how to navigate that challenge where, maybe at a particular point you could buy a home and it could become an asset, but then maybe your life changes and it becomes a liability just because you might not be earning as much as you used to earn. How do you navigate that challenge? Do you get rid of that asset, or do you have a clear way that you can deal with that challenge?
Okay, Benjamin, let's start off here. Defining what an asset is and what a liability is, right? So to me, my property that I live in is not an asset yet because I'm still paying for it. And I'm living in it. So it's not generating an income for me. So we cannot define it as an asset. Would you agree?
Sure. Not necessarily. Yeah. No, I don't agree. I think it's a good investment because when you buy into some properties, they can become assets for you, even if they don't bring you income.
In the future, once I've paid it off and it starts generating me income and I've got more value in the house than what I'm actually owing.
Sure, go ahead. Let's beg to disagree on that one.
Okay. So from that perspective, I wouldn't say it's an asset. So I wouldn't go and sell assets to say settle debt. I can use the assets to settle the debt. Mm-hmm. So, for example, as you were saying, let's use the property, for example. Let's say the house is paid off. Let's say I do have equity in the house. I bought the house for $1 million and I've paid it off, and now it's worth 2.5 million, meaning that I've got 2.5 equity in the house that I can use to borrow and pay off. Maybe I bought an expensive German sedan, which I still want to keep. Instead of making monthly repayments towards that, I want to settle it quicker. Then I can borrow money from my house to pay off that debt because the interest rate on my home loan is lower than the interest rate on my car installment. Mm-hmm. And then that's a one strategy I would use, but we are treading on very thin ice here. Because if anything goes wrong, I can lose this asset that I've just used to settle a German sedan.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going in terms of that thin line, because between something as an asset and then one day it becoming a liability. Theory.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm. That's now you're coming to the point that I'm trying to make. What is that thin line? Because that is sometimes something that causes that debt to actually amount because of that mistake that you just highlighted?
So, from my perspective, because we are not very objectives in our lives, this is where I would say you need to sit with a financial planner who would do the numbers for you and explain to you where that fine line is, to say that now we are going into the red zone. Do not cross over here. It's going to be based on your individual settings, your plan, and your current situation. We cannot just give broad advice for everyone. So it's going to be dependent on your situation, you as the person.
All right,
Yes,
Daddy, we are
yes.
about to wrap up the conversation. I want to speak about the purpose of this debt-free idea, right? Because it's an idea that we all have. Oh, one day I won't need all of these things. But is that really an idea that is the utopia for us? Is it 100%, valid for us to be living debt-free? Or is it good for us to have some debt in our life that can also allow us to maneuver some situations, like you've just mentioned with Ben, right? Using a particular debt to pay off another one, or just to leverage something from a particular debt and leveraging the money that you can make. So is it 100% true? Is that what we should be striving for, to live a debt-free life?
Yes, I would say definitely that's something that you would want. Remember the mindset as well. If you are under debt, you are under a lot of stress, you have anxiety, you have sleepless nights. That's something that we do not want for people. So ideally, yes, we don't want you to have to be indebted so that you own your life. And when we talk about the financial freedom also brings you owning your own time, which is also very, very important to people. So once you are debt free, you might find that you want to do other things besides the current work that you are doing because you have to provide an income. So I think it's something that you would want to do and want to aspire to. When leveraging debt and trying to use debt and stuff like that, I would stay away from those things. Leave that to the professionals, people who work at the stock market, low investment managers who run hedge funds, who know how to leverage that debt. Leave that to the professionals. We are not skilled in understanding all the cogs in the machine that do that. So unless you're an expert, I would say stay away from such.
All
Do
right.
not use assets to generate. Do not sell your assets to take care of your liabilities.
Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your time, Daddy. It's been a pleasure to get some advice from you, and hopefully we're all listening, because I know that it is a goal for many to eventually live debt-free.
Dream.
A dream.
Far away right now.
Far, far away. That's Daddy
We're all on
Shabalala.
our way there. We are all on our way there. Thank
Okay,
you so
Daddy.
much.
Thank you so much, man. That's Daddy Shabalala helping us on that one. What's your take? Do you think it's a reality? Can this actually happen for you?